What's happening, people? Welcome back to another episode of Park Lane Podcast. It's me, Luke, joined by Dave and Wes for another episode for your listening ears and also for your eyesight. If you're watching on YouTube or Facebook or Twitch or anywhere that we do stream live. If you're new to the channel, do not forget to hit the like button. Do not forget to subscribe as well. And also, if you're listening on any podcast platform, as I say, every week, if you're on Spotify, leave us a little comment. We'd love to hear from you. Right, boys, might as well catch up with both of you before we get into it, because another week, another two defeats to talk about for Tottenham Hotspur, and more injuries to talk about. When it rains, it fucking pours, people. Wes, how are you?
Yeah, well, we're here, aren't we? That's the main
We
thing.
showed up.
Yeah, we're in the trenches, boys and girls, but at least we're showing up. Unlike the Tottenham players at the moment. So, but yeah, like I say, we're here. So, yeah, I say looking forward to it. But it's definitely going to be like a therapy session tonight. I have a feeling.
Yeah, 100%. Dave, I was feeling good for you for the past few months. I was thinking positive. Dave is back. He's with us, and I feel like they've just done it to you again.
Positive Dave is well and truly fucked off, mate. Is all I'm going to say. He is dead. He's as dead and buried as this Tottenham Hotspur team. So, but other than that, in general life, I'm pretty good. I've just got this curse, like the rest of us, that we support such a shit football team.
Yeah, definitely. Shout out to a few people in the chat. There's a few of you watching, so make sure you get your comments in. Johnny's back after disappearing for last week, a little bit like Arsenal in the FA Cup. But he's back. It's good to see you. Jay's in. Lots and lots of comments saying Tottenham looked better when they made subs, should have made more, to be fair. But Levy has to go. And then saw you, Luke, on Chris's show. Hopefully you can make an appearance in there again. Yeah, anybody that has come over from that show, do appreciate you all. And where's his mum? Is in the house saying evening all. And who else have we got? Oh, Jay, lots of comments from you, so we'll get to some of them in a little bit. Right, lads, let's start with today's game to begin with, and then we'll move backwards to Arsenal and then move forwards to the next two games that we've got, because, we've got a lot of football on our case. But Wes, let's start off with about injuries. I know we've talked a lot about injuries, but what the hell is going on? Because, we hear yesterday Dominic Solanke is now out for 6 weeks with a knee injury, I believe. I heard Ange Postecoglou saying it was from taking a shot in training or something along those lines. So absolute chaos. Brennan Johnson, it's now been told out for 3 or 4 weeks. So we get Richarlison and Ben Davies back, but we lose Dominic Solanke, probably our most important player in that attacking part. And we also lose another winger, Brennan Johnson. Like, what is happening?
$1 million question, isn't it? I don't think anybody really knows or understands what is actually going on. Like, how can we have so many injured players like all at the same time? It's confusing, it's baffling, and I think if anybody was to know the sort of real reasons, I think there'd be a billionaire, not even a millionaire, at the moment. So yeah, it's just, I don't know if it's bad luck, bad fortune. I don't know if it's training methods. It could be a combination of the lot, to be honest. But yeah, in terms of the injuries, I'm the same as everybody else. I have got absolutely no idea and no clue, to be honest.
Yeah, Dave, I've seen on Twitter we've now got an injury 11. We've got enough players, and probably in the exact positions as well, to create a whole starting 11 that are injured in Spurs at the moment. Like,
mate, I think you have to look at our medical staff first and foremost, because that happens a lot. We're always run down with injuries across the way. I'm so worked up, honestly, like my blood is boiling. But you also have to question, is Ange working too hard in training? Is it too intense? Is it causing these injuries? Solanke getting injured yesterday, apparently he just twisted his knee trying to shoot. random. He was barely ever injured at Bournemouth, So a lot of my hamstring injuries and muscle strains and things like that, and a lot of that is intensity. So what's going on? It's honestly, it's the most frustrating thing in the world but I don't want to be one of these negative Ange people, but even before the injuries, we were poor. We were playing poor. Our performances were awful. Things weren't going great. So I don't think we can really just sugarcoat all of this by saying, oh, it's just because we've got injuries. Because prior to Romero, Van der Ven getting injured, we were still losing. Udogie getting injured, we're still losing. So there's something else amiss, whether the players can't do what Ange is expecting them to do, which I find bonkers because they're paid hundreds of thousands of pounds a week. I'd run 20 miles a day if I got paid that much.
Yeah.
So I can't work it out. All I know is that I've had enough. I think Ange will go. I think the only thing that's keeping him in the job at the moment is the fact that we are still in cups. I think if we get beat by Liverpool in February, he'll be gone. I think even if we lose against Hoffenheim, he could be gone. So it's a tough one, mate. But, I was so positive at the start of the season, but we sit 15th in the table with 12 defeats. That's horrendous. That's relegation form. There's no, you can call injuries and call whatever you like, and Daniel Levy should spend money. We know what Daniel Levy is like. We know Daniel Levy already. We've been Tottenham fans long enough to know that it doesn't work that way.
So then changing the manager won't make a difference.
No, it won't, and that's the thing. We've tried every manager. Antonio Conte said in that famous interview, if Tottenham want to carry on the same cycle, they can change manager after manager after manager, and things will stay the same. He was highlighting the fact that above the management, there is blocks put in place. There is, managers not getting who they wanted. We can go back through the years and we can look at lots of different managers who wanted different players and didn't get those players. They were given shit, basically. I think Mourinho wanted Skriniar and he got rode on. Conte wanted Bastoni. Who did he get? It's like you can go back through the years and with managers not being backed and Pochettino.
He got Romero, didn't he?
But you look at Pochettino, for example, right? You look at Pochettino, and when he was in charge, the guy got us to a Champions League final, nearly won us the league. When we're fighting for the league, we don't sign anyone for 2 years. That's not a managerial problem. That's a board problem. That's a board level chairman problem whose sole focus is business enterprise, not football club. So nothing, unfortunately, and I said this numerous times, we will not be successful or win anything while Daniel Levy is in charge, because to him, being successful is competing in the top four, competing for the top six, and being known as a big six team. To him, that's success because of when he took over Tottenham, where we were. But right now, because of this failure after failure after failure after failure after failure, what you're actually seeing now, it's not on Ange. You're seeing a culmination of all of the things that everyone's been saying since Poch left come to a head.
Yeah,
it's going to take something drastic like relegation, or being in a really tough relegation battle, or fans actually opening their mouths properly for this to change. It's not.
Yeah, what's really interesting is the way you talk about Daniel Levy, which I completely agree, right? But as a businessman or a successful businessman, right? This is how I look at it. It's like he gets invited to the dinner party, but he never wants to be the one who actually hosts. Surely as a businessman, you want to be at the top of your game. You don't just want to be, in and around people, who are at the top of their game. You want to be the one who's, leading the dinner party. Do you know what I mean? But for some reason, he seems to stop at that level and say, well, actually, this is enough. But for an elite businessman, you'd expect him to want to push on to be more, to be the best. It's weird. It's a weird mentality to be at.
Put it this way, Luke. Put it this way, right? And I'm gonna use this example, right? Daniel Levy is like an episode of Come Dine With Me, right? In the sense that he goes to everybody else's house and they've got all the nice china, all the nice cutlery. When it's his turn to host, he's got the paper plates and the plastic forks and the throwaway cups, if you like. That's what it feels like now. Like he said with this brand new £1 billion stadium that we have, this game-changing stadium will allow us to sign the best in class. We have not signed one player that you could argue is a best-in-class player since the stadium opened.
The last
It's
best in class player we signed was Van der Vaart. We only signed him because it wasn't really wanted.
Yeah, and I think he sort of, I mean, obviously Rafa was great for us. Like, he got the club got him, everything else. But I think at the time, I wouldn't really say he was one that, you know, like every other club was sort of sniffing around, and we've beaten everybody to the signing of him, you know, at the age that he was at. You know, there's rumours obviously with Bergvall and the young Croatian lad out on loan that we've beaten some of Europe's elite to sign them, but they're kids at the end of the day. Do you know what I mean? Like, we've not signed anybody that you go, right, this player is for the here and now, and they are going to take us to the next level. And I think it's got to that point now where we can't use the new stadium as an excuse anymore. The people and the powers that be at the top have to start acting. You look at City, they're going, well, we're not in the greatest moment at this period in time. They've gone, right, we'll get Marmoush, we'll get 2 centre-halves in, and we'll sign Haaland to a long-term contract. That's how you act when you're in a difficult situation.
Whereas Daniel Levy, the way he'll be looking at this is, shit, we're not looking like we're not going to get European football, which means we're going to be getting a loss this season because we're not going to get competition money. How do we negate that loss?
Yeah.
And save it in the transfer market. You see what I mean? This is the problem is he is a businessman. He's in it for the business. I don't buy all that bullshit. He's a Tottenham fan. He's not a Tottenham fan. If he was a Tottenham fan, he'd want the best for Tottenham. Not what's best for his pocket. You know, unfortunately, like I said, the situation isn't going to change unless we go and get some blood money.
Yeah, the thing is, the situation needs to change, right? Because you know, we cannot continue to. Well, we can quite easily continue to be like this, but we'll continually be a mediocre football club, and you know, have a nice stadium to show for it. Like it's exactly like Mauricio Pochettino said, right? You can have, you know, a nice house, but if you've got shit furniture, what's the point? Well,
there's no point buying £1 million house and kitting it out in IKEA furniture, is it? Do you know what I mean? Like it doesn't that doesn't work. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. And do you know what the big issue with Daniel Levy, right, is that, you know, and I've been a big supporter of a lot of the things that he's done at Spurs, and I still am a big fan of those things. But the footballing side of things, you know, has gone as far as it can go under his tenure. But the problem is that he's been chasing his tail ever since he sacked Pochettino. He made a rash decision. He got it wrong, and he's been chasing his tail. The problem is
he sacked Pochettino because of the Amazon documentary. He wanted a personality like Mourinho for that documentary. Yeah. There's no doubt in my mind. And after it didn't work, Mourinho, and we didn't get silverware, he then was like, shit, I need to do something here. You know, we had the opportunity to get Poch back. We were clamoring for him. You know, rather than admit he was wrong, he decided to go another route. Now, I am not against Ange. Like, I think he's been dealt a really shit hand. A really shit hand. I do, like I said to you, I have said previously he needs to make adjustments to his tactics, which the last few weeks he clearly has done. You know, apart from
today it backfired on him.
Yeah.
For me, every time Ange has gone to tweak and change, it has backfired on him, like big time. Like, I'm even going back to, for example, the Wolves game. We're defending the width of our 18-yard box. We get done by a sucker punch, Strand Larsen goal. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? And then it's like...
I was there. You were there too. I was chatting to people next to me and they were like, why are we doing this? Why are we sat back? It's weird.
Yeah. So it feels like Ange is willing to change and adapt, but when he does, it backfires. So then that gives him more fuel to be like, well, actually, I'm not going to do that because every time I do, it doesn't work. So... I think that's why
Sam's comment is spot on, by the way.
Yeah.
2 seconds, I'll bring it up.
But yeah, I just think if he does go and change and adapt, it backfires, and then it just gives him more fuel to be like, actually, I'm going to continue to try and do things how, you know, I want to do them. You know, even today, set up with a back three. And honestly, there was so much space in between. I think he could have held Live Aid in between the centre halves at times. You know what I mean? It was ridiculous. Like, I've never seen a defensive line. Bearing in mind, you've got 3 players that are playing centre back that have looked so disjointed and so defensively disorganised. I mean, we've made Calvert-Lewin look like prime R9, for goodness sake.
Oh, honestly,
Geezer couldn't hit a barn door.
I wanted to ask this question, because I do like to go over the facts, before we go into it. Spurs have run out 3-2 losers, I should say, or lost 3-2 at Goodison Park, at a terrible, terrible Everton side. No offense, Everton. But there's a question for you, Wes, as a football guy, a football tactician, football masterclass of a coach. The Pep Guardiola of Milton Keynes, they call you. That's what I've heard anyway. Why would a manager like Ange Postecoglou, at what I'm sure was last minute, because it didn't look like they trained for this at all, change this team into a back 3, move Archie Gray from a left-sided centre-back to a right-sided centre-back, have what I would assume the wingers are overlapping, fullbacks are overlapping fullbacks, as opposed to inverted, which they've been in his whole tenure at Spurs. Why would someone do that? That's like suicidal, right?
Sometimes you have to go, what have I got available to me? So what is the personnel that I have available? So, I was quite vocal in our group chat to say I think we should go with the back 3 today, just because of the personnel that we've got. So we haven't really got an out-and-out centre forward. And actually, if we look back and we go back 6 years, Pochettino was going to a back 3 when we didn't have an out-and-out centre forward. So yeah, it's one of them. Sometimes you just have to look at what you've got available to you and try and come up with the best solution based off of what you've got. And I actually thought that the back 3 would work, considering how bad Everton have been this season. And actually, like I say, with the personnel that we got, it should work. And the way that we play, I think a back 3 would suit us more in possession, and we should be better defensively because we've got that extra man at the back. But I can't for the life of me understand how you go with a back 3 and yet you are ridiculously open. Like, it was bonkers, like absolutely bonkers. Usually you play with a back 3 to make sure that you're a little bit more defensively solid to then try and get a result. Not the opposite. You don't go, right, we're going to play back 3 and then just go, sod it, we're all flying forward. That doesn't happen. And like I say, I think it was more personnel. Obviously, the fact that he didn't have Solanke, huge miss. It would have looked like maybe Kulusevski and Maddison operating as 2 10s further up the pitch, with Son as the focal point, even though Son's never been a great focal point.
As well.
He's been shocking all season, Dave, to be fair. I
think you're spot on. And, I think one observation that I made in our group chat before the game was, what is that bench?
Yeah.
We needed Callum to tell me who the offense players were, because he's into all the youth and all the kids, and that's a bit dodgy, actually. Into the youth players.
Let's go through that bench really quickly. Let's just just so that kind of everybody knows who that bench was. So on the bench today for Spurs, we had Richarlison, Mikey Moore, Brandon Austin, Reguilon, Macaulay Hardy, Callum Olasesi, Yang Min Hyuk, Ajayi, and Will Lancashire. Like, half of those players I've never heard of.
That is, you can say, we've got 11 players out or whatever else, and this and that and this and that. But if you want to be an elite level club, I'm not saying you have to have a really bloated squad, but you have players who can fill positions deep. You look at Man City, for example. You look at, even Arsenal now, for example, when they have players out. They got injuries today at the moment. They've got players that can play different positions. And sorry, that's my child coughing in the background. Apologies. But no, they've got players that can play in different positions, that can, can slot in places and things like that. We have players injured, players out injured. We're having to play a 18-year-old kid at centre half. And if we can't play him, we're playing a 37-year-old Ben Davis or whatever. So I can't grasp it. We worked so hard, and we've all said for a long time we have a lot of dead wood we need to clear out of the club. We done that in the summer. We got rid of Lo Celso. We got rid of Dyer. We got rid of Winks, and Winks has gone already, but Skip and players like that. When you look at it now, you kind of go, well, what did we do to replace those players that we got rid of? Did we upgrade our backup players? No, we didn't. We didn't upgrade them at all. So because we didn't upgrade them at all, we're now stuck with having to field kids in positions that don't even play. So it is a ownership problem. It's a chairman problem. He's sitting there today, the bald prick, in Everton stand with his glasses, like he's bloody Dr. X or whatever from the X-Men. So do something. We're 19 days into a window. You signed a keeper. Where I have not seen us linked with any players. Have you? Could you look at it right now and go, oh yeah, we're badly linked with them. We look like we're really going for them. There was the guy from PSG who's now going to Juve, but there was no real solid links. Just his
or not, because apparently PSG forgot how many loans they've had.
You see what I mean? So I can't see a direct link to us to signing a player right now, and the only links I do see is we're interested in this 16-year-old from this place. It's not good enough.
Yeah. And look, what needs to happen, and you've got to hope that Lange is working in the shadows as he usually does, and pull something out, because and I'm just pulling names out here, right? But to turn this around, Spurs need something like to sign a player the likes of Gyökeres level. Like, that's the kind of level of player the Spurs need to bring in various positions. We need at least probably 2 or 3 of that type of player. We need top quality that can come in, and the likes of James Maddison, Brennan Johnson, and others that just aren't performing, Heung-min Son, will shit themselves in the fact that they're not going to get back into the team. It looks like this keeper's half decent. So it looks like that might happen in terms of goalkeeping department, but we need that in various positions. And with Brennan Johnson out and Solanke now out, we're even worse positioned than we were before.
Yeah, no, I'd agree with that.
Yeah, but evening to Genius, who said, "Evening. I was told this was the place to come for therapy." So evening to you.
If you want to hear somebody absolutely rinse Dr. Xavier, Daniel Levy, then this is the place to be.
What I heard today, right, because I was just on with Chris Cowell a minute ago, what I heard today was he said that Daniel Levy travelled today on the team coach. Is that normal for owners to come on the team bus?
Imagine that ride on the way back. Jesus Christ. He's probably gone to the game and thought, yeah, these kids they're all right. They pulled it back to 3-2. We don't need to sign anybody. That's his level of thinking. That's he's like, oh yeah, we signed. The only person I've seen us linked with is that geezer from Sunderland, the youngster.
Yeah,
it's not a bad thing, but it's not what we need right now.
Yeah. Wes, before today's game, Dominic Calvert-Lewin had an XG of minus 3.22, and I tweeted to say banker for him to score against Spurs, and early on he did score against Spurs. To be fair on him, I thought it was a really well taken finish, good footwork, but terrible defending from Spurs. Yeah, what do you make of that early doors?
Dr. Tottenham, innit? I think everybody saw the post that went out from BBC Football where we was like, oh, Calvert-Lewin hasn't scored in 16 games, and every Spurs fan thought he's bagging. Genuinely, every Spurs fan. Literally, it was like, yeah, he's a banker to score today.
He doesn't just score a tap-in. He twists and turns in the box and makes our players look like woke in town.
So, like I said earlier, we turned him into Prime R9 today. It was ridiculous. He had Dragishin on ropes at every given opportunity, and it's like, mate, Calvert-Lewin was shot of confidence, and it was like, oh yeah, I know I'm going to get something today because I'm playing against Tottenham. That was sort of like almost like the mentality that he came with. But yeah, shocking defending for that goal. And to be fair, I think all 3 goals are really, really bad, like defensively as well. So, but yeah, that one obviously not great. I think, like you say, he takes the goal really well. But the fact of the matter is, you can't allow a centre forward that of any level, really, that time and space in your penalty box and allow them to take that many touches, because they're going to at least any half decent centre forward anyway will at least get a shot on target. So yeah, it was just really poor, to be honest.
Yeah, definitely. Right, let's move on. Try and move on from today's game.
Just really quickly, their second goal, I've seen Milk turn quicker than Dragusin.
Do you know what? I was texting this in the group. Like, I think he, I want to rewatch it, but I think he got like so confused about what to do because he started to go. He then decided he wasn't going to go because he wasn't going to get the ball. So then he backs off, and then as soon as that happened, Njai just had to run at him and just literally shoved him aside. Bodied him.
I think what he's done, Luke, is he's tried to, he's been caught out of position initially. He's then tried to fix it by dropping and conceding the space in behind. And then all of a sudden he's thinking, right, I'm in and around the box now. I've got to go and engage the ball. And if you see, he actually turns his body shape. So he becomes square. And the moment he does that, and Jai goes, thank you very much. You've made my mind up for me. Step over, bang. And it was a good finish as well because he went high with a tight angle. I think if you see Semenyo's goal against Chelsea in the week as well, again, really tight angle, goes high up against Sanchez. And again, really good finish. So, but yeah, Dragusin just got caught in a couple of different minds there. But yeah, from my point of view, looking at it, I'm like, yeah, he's tried to retreat and then he's thought, I've got to go and engage and make a tackle. The moment he's done that, changed his body shape, and Jai, fair play to him, recognised that, little bit of skill to get away from him, and then
when he went down for head injury, I was thinking Big Ange's going to put his kit on now, play centre half. Literally,
he might have to give you a call up in a minute, Dave. We've got that many injuries, mate.
I'm old man now. Probably do a better job. I can tell quicker still though.
We might have to get some of these Spurs legends back out. We've got the Legends game coming up.
Him out.
Yeah, get Ledley and Dorse back together. Sod it.
I know, unfortunately, Alfie Dorrington has now gone off to Aberdeen, so there's no chance that he can...
At least you can keep an eye on him there, Luke. It's not too far from you.
Why are we loaning out players when we don't have players? I don't care, the youngsters. He's a centre-half. We've got one fit centre-half. Why are we loaning out centre-half? Ange must not like him. That's it.
Yeah, crazy. Right, let's move backwards and talk about the defeat at the Emirates.
That's why Johnny's turned up, isn't it?
Yeah, on Wednesday night. If you thought things were bad today, it was pretty damn bad at the Emirates on Wednesday night as well. Once again, Spurs from the start, didn't turn up. For another derby. The goalkeeper. My God, how he didn't concede a goal from holding onto the ball for too long. And he didn't do it once, he did it about 25 times. And the players seem to have just completely switched off, Wes. My question quickly to you, before we talk about that Arsenal game, is do you think Ange Postecoglou sees out the rest of the week?
Oh, what, this week?
Yeah. Not today's Sunday. I mean, next week.
I think it goes back to what Dave said earlier. I think if we don't pick up a victory against Hoffenheim, which is looking even more increasingly difficult now, given the state of our squad and our team, I think then it's squeaky bum time for him. If we lose against Leicester, it would have been absolutely terrible. Then I think he's gone. But it's just one of those. I think it depends, to be honest. But yeah, I'd love for him to get through this bad patch. I genuinely would. But
I would love it too. But you look at Mourinho, who was sacked when we were fifth or fourth.
Yeah.
Conte was sacked when we were fifth. Those managers didn't keep their job because we were fourth and fifth. We're 15th. We've lost 12 games.
And Poch got the sack when we were 13th, 14th as well, mid-season. Yeah. So if you look at it from that perspective, Ange is very fortunate to still be in the job. But yeah, do I think I genuinely don't know now. I don't get me wrong, I'm not calling for him to go, and I would be gutted if he did go. But you can't ignore the league form in particular because that's your bread and butter. And it feels like now we're going back near enough 30 odd years where we were in the 90s and it was like it was like finishing 15th and 14th, like lower mid-table, and it was like, well, at least we ain't gone down, lads, a good season and we've had half decent cut run, let's go again next year. That's where it feels like we are at the moment.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'd love him to get through this period, but for the life of me, I can't see it, because I think Levy will start getting a bit twitchy, and once he gets twitchy, that's it.
Yeah, definitely. I know Ange isn't the type, but to be honest, if I was him and he doesn't get any more players this window, I would walk. To be honest with you, like, the
Yeah,
hand he's been dealt at the moment is
That's what we
tragic.
need. But with the greatest respect, that is what this club needs. It needs a manager like Conte did to come out and say something, but then it needs a manager to literally walk out the door and say, I'm not, stuffy contract, I quit, and go to the press and say, this is why I've left.
Yeah.
Talk about Daniel Levy properly. You see around
Yeah,
like Lango, whatever his name is, I don't know what he does. Aston Villa fans were delighted when he went. What does that tell you?
Yeah. Let's talk about Arsenal again, because Johnny did say what Dragishin did today doesn't compare with what Trossard did to Pedro Porro when he stole his slippers. What even happened there? Because Trossard has literally turned Pedro Porro inside out so badly that I thought he'd completely buckled his knees. But luckily, he seemed to be all right after that. But
did he?
it was just a wild moment, wasn't it, in that game?
We were terrible.
Yeah.
I don't, we took the lead, but that first half was the worst I've seen us play. We were awful. Like, I don't know how we were 1-0 up. I really don't. We got a bit lucky with that, in my opinion. But it was probably the worst first half that I'd seen us play. And Arsenal deservedly led at half time. Yeah, their first goal contentious. Was it corner? Wasn't it a corner? Who cares? You get rubs of the green sometimes. Arsenal had one against us, and then they had one taken away from them against Villa. That's just the way it goes. So I'm not going to whinge too much about that. I don't like the North London derby. I don't like talking about it. I don't like watching it. It's my least favourite game. I know people are like marking their calendar. I mark it on my calendar for a weekend to avoid. I hate it. But it was the worst I'd seen us play. And Arsenal aren't exactly on top form at the moment either. So it was, I don't even know what happened with that Trossard goal. I remember sitting there watching it thinking, how has this happened? How has that happened? Like, Porro turned into a ballerina, spinning. It was I didn't get it. It was I don't know. It was poor. But it's a poor, consistent. We've lost 6 in 8 in the league. It's a hard watch, and losing to Arsenal is the least of my concerns right now. I expect us to lose to Arsenal considering where they are in the league. We took the lead, but North London derbies, to me, I don't know about you two, but I don't feel like they have that same intensity anymore. With the intensity in terms of even the players getting at each other, flying into tackles and things like that.
I think the way the Premier League is ref now has ruined that, and I don't think it'll ever be like that, because you can't get away with anything.
Well, I think for me on that, Dave, it's more like if you were to look at the players that would have a bit of shithousery about them, like Romero. I mean, Richarlison comes on and with 5 minutes gets Lewis Skelly booked. Yeah, do you know what I mean? Like, I feel like North London derbies were built for Eric Lamela. Like, he was like our ultimate shithouse. So yeah, I just think that the players that have that in them to kind of take the fight to the opposition were just not available. But yeah, take nothing away from the abysmal performance on Wednesday night.
I actually think we'll get top 4 next season. I really do. I think we'll have a chance to go up through the playoffs, so I think it'll be good.
Yeah, somebody said, Johnny said, I heard a Spurs supporter say today the championship trophy is actually going to end our trophy
drive. We wouldn't win it. We'd come fourth and then lose in the playoff final. That would be Tottenham.
You know what, Wes? What annoys me is that, I watched a lot of Scottish football living in Scotland last season. And, a lot of Ange, a couple of seasons ago, and watching Ange, especially on the build up to when Spurs were looking for a new manager and things like that. And the one thing you'd always back him in would be a derby match, right? He didn't lose very many derbies against Rangers, but what I don't understand is why can't the players get up for a North London derby, but he had the players getting up for an Old Firm derby? Does that not say more about our players' mentality than it does our manager?
Yeah, I think 100%. But I think if I look at, say, Celtic and Tottenham in isolation, at Celtic you've got, for example, someone like Callum McGregor, who is Celtic through and through. understands what that game genuinely means, not only for him personally, but for the fans as well. I don't think we've got that at Tottenham. We haven't really got, a couple of players in there that kind of go around and say to the lads, like in the build up to the game, like, right, you have to win. This is how important this game is to the fans. This is what it means to me as a fan, of the football club that I play for and represent, all of that kind of stuff. So, I think like I say, with Celtic, you got like Callum McGregor, you got Greg Taylor. There's players of that ilk who might not be the most glamorous of players on paper. But having said that, they would be the ones going round saying like, right, lads, come on, we have to win
and
this.
Let's be honest.
Game.
That's the only game in Scotland that's worth getting up for. It's the only one that people look out for.
Scottish listeners.
I'm just looking at Genus's comment where he said we're in the top 10 grossing clubs in the world, haven't spent much and yet no liquidity. We spent quite a lot, mate. If you look underneath the stadium now, there's a really nice go-kart track. I don't know if you've been there and had a look, but we've got a nice skywalk. That's where the money is. Oh,
well, I've had to move us all around because we've got a special guest joining us. So Marlon's here from Spurs King TV. How are you, mate?
How are you doing?
Hello, boys. Hello. How you both doing? Oh, all of you actually.
Good. Not great, mate. Probably the same as you.
Mate, I heard you. I was watching the beginning. I heard you. I felt it.
Mate, talk to us about Spurs at the moment, just Spurs in general. Give us your kind of thoughts of where you're at.
I'm in the scenario of after the Arsenal game, because I heard you lot were talking about that. After the Arsenal game, I'm done. I'm done with Ange. And the reason why I'm done with Ange is because now let's take the 11 that we had on the pitch today. Are they better than a 15th place? I think everyone would agree, if you look at the teams around us, no matter with the injuries or not, they are better than 15th. For me, minimum should be 10th. We should be in the top 10. There's certain games this season, even when we had our 11, like Dave said earlier, we should be winning. And this is not just from this season, because I remember everyone last season, wait till we get our players back. We only beat the promoted side. Well, the teams that got relegated last year in those last 10 games. Everyone forgets all this, right? This is not just this season. This is a catalogue of things. Now, my other point is Spurs are set up in a way, and people won't like this, but Spurs are set up in a way that we don't do long-term managers, right? I heard you lot saying we're not going to get rid of Levy, right? So the only way this club can move forward now is it's going to be 18th month managers on the merry-go-round, because that's all that this club will give to certain managers. So we have to get on board with it, because we're not going to get Levy out. We've been there. We've tried. Look, no one wants to protest. So we're going to have to get on this cycle of every 18 months, we're going to need a new manager, unfortunately. And that's where we're at.
Like Chelsea of old, basically.
Yeah, it's pretty much, yeah. Chelsea couldn't keep a manager, and we're in the same boat now, because the way the club, look, everything is done so slow. Look, as you guys said, we've only signed a goalkeeper in this January transfer window. If you really think the club are really backing Ange, they wouldn't have just given him a goalkeeper. We'd have a left back here right now, right? And you've got to think, he fell out with Reguilon. He didn't even want to play Reguilon, but he has to play him. Jed Spence, he didn't want Jed Spence, no matter what we will say, been one of our best players. So that's on Ange, right? Archie Gray playing centre-back's done a great job. Everyone wants him to play DM. Went into DM today. Unfortunately, let himself down. He was better when he went back to centre-back, right? Bergval's another one. Admittedly, with what he's done with Bergval's been actually quite on point. But again, he's been one of our best players. So it's the guys that everyone's going, injuries, but it's the guys that are coming in that have been our better players. The guys that would be playing if we didn't have the injuries have been the one letting him down. Against Arsenal, for me, that second half, when he went all out attacking and they still couldn't put two passes together, they are not playing for this manager anymore. You can clearly see it, right? And the club and the board need to make a decision, because what we're doing right now is sleepwalking into relegation. And people,
there's a lot of truth.
Yeah, and what people don't realise is that Ange ain't set up for a relegation battle. Ange has never done this in his life, and even when he was at Celtic, he lost. He did lose quite a few games, even though he won what he won. He lost quite a lot. His win percentage was great, but his loss record compared to the others that he was up against, it was, he did lose a lot of games in that sense. You go to these other clubs, he loses a lot of games. He doesn't draw many. Now, the Premier League is a beast, right? Because we have better managers in this division. And right now, for this club, Ange is not the answer. Unfortunately, I wish it worked out for him.
Can I ask you a question, Marlon? Right?
Yeah, go ahead.
Obviously, I get what you're saying, and you are right. Some of the players aren't playing for him. You look at Maddison this season; he's been terrible. Son's been terrible this season.
But him and Maddison, there's been a problem there because if you look at the games where we've played well and won, Maddison's been like Southampton. How good was Maddison in the first 5 minutes? Manchester City away, and this is why I can't see the injuries being an excuse, because where was everyone's excuse when we beat Manchester City 4-0 away?
So, question for you: who would you get? Let's talk about Areola, Thomas Frank.
Look, Areola, I get the fascination with Areola, right? I get it. You just look at what he's been producing at Bournemouth, and you kind of go, could he produce the same with Spurs? Now, I'm always going to jump to, I don't think he'll produce the same at Spurs because of our board. So what we have to kind of do is we have to go for a manager that suits the board, not the fans, the board. And the reason why I'm saying that is because every time they listen to us, we don't want Conte, he's playing negative football, even though he had us in fourth, right? And with a worse defence, right? But he did have Harry Kane, I get that. However, everyone moaned, I want attacking football. He gives you attacking football, and this is the mess we get in. So he's got to stop listening to us lot. We are useless when it comes to trying to pick a manager, because every time we get bored of something, we start moaning. Right, so the only
you are right, because obviously you look at when we bought Pochettino. I mean, I don't remember everyone being like, "Let's get Pochettino from Southampton." I remember us getting him, and everyone being like, "What?
What the hell?" Yeah. And even then, And the problem that we've got is like, this is not all on Ange. This build has been going on since Poch left, right? And the painful rebuild that we are now going through, this is not the beginning. This what we're going through right now is bad management for the last 5 years, and the reason why we're going to go after Ange, Ange is part to blame, because I'm sorry, we shouldn't be sitting 15th. I don't care, with injuries or without injuries, we should be sitting 15th. How the world Crystal Palace are ahead of us now? Serious questions should be asked. I think everyone needs to ask these serious questions with Ange. However, are we good enough to be in the top 10? I think we can all agree here, and I think every Spurs fan can agree, we should at least be in the top 10. With or without injuries. We can't. Van der Ven and Romero got injured last year. They both got injured last year. We had to play Royal and Ben Davis at the back. This is not new, right? And everyone goes, injuries. But it comes to a point where you go, how much bad luck does Ange really have with injuries when this is a constant thing that keeps following him? And you kind of go, okay, this is just. I get that everyone wants to protect Ange, but he needs to take some responsibility, because when you look at certain games this season, let's take Ipswich. We're needing a goal. Yeah. What minute does he bring on Maddison? And you're like, what are you doing?
I said about the injuries at the start, and I did say that the intensity of training must be too high, because at Celtic there was always hamstring injuries.
Yeah, so we hear.
It is a theme at every club he's been at, and he refuses to take intensity. Fortunately for him, in Scotland, there's only 2 or 3 hard games a year.
Exactly.
So you can get away with playing these players. Whereas in the Premier League, every game is a difficult game.
I disagree. Look at Antonio Conte pre-season in South Korea when he was running the players into the ground. Did we see any issues with that then? Under Richard Pochettino?
But that was pre-season. So this is the problem. I think what we're complaining here, when it's pre-season, it's absolutely fine. It's when you start getting into Thursday, Sunday games, which we're having. Because even Conte said before the World Cup, he basically come out and said he can't train the players how he'd like to, because he's got a World Cup in the middle of the season. We've got midweek games. The squad is thin at the time as well. He even moaned about that. So, but he knew he couldn't train into the intensity he did, because he'd end up missing and having a load of players missing. But Ange seems to I'm not going to just blame this on Ange, because his coaching staff is another mess. I think they're the ones letting him down big time. Because at the end of the day, he's obviously saying something to them and that's what's happening. But the fact that this injury crisis keeps following him around, we can't just sit there and go, if he didn't have injuries, because he's had this before. He's got to learn from past behaviours. And this is the issue that I'm having right now with Ange. He doesn't seem to be learning from past behaviours. Now, he says one thing and does another. And this is why I'm looking at going, do I see a light at the end of the tunnel? at this present moment, like up until Wednesday, I was with all you lot. I said, no, I've got to give them the cups. I've got to give them the cups. For me, I'm quite fickle when it comes to a North London derby. I'll openly admit that's the one game that I could end up changing my whole opinion on everything. And I did, right? Because it was so bad. Look at Arsenal's results. In the last 5 games, Arsenal have won one game. One game in the last 5. Who did that come against? Tottenham Hotspur. We need to ask questions.
So I want to talk about this quickly. Genius has said if Ange gets sacked, we'll have a caretaker manager until July for a relegation battle. I just don't think that's a better scenario than the one we currently have. And this is something that I do actually tend to agree with. If he was to get sacked, right, and I don't want him to get sacked. Just on your point, Marlon, he lost 18 games out of 113 for Celtic, so I don't think it was too bad a run. But
How was his Champions League and when he came up against better teams?
Yeah. That was all his games.
Yeah. And that's the biggest issue. Premier League is like you're going to come up against better managers. Unfortunately, I love Scottish football, but unfortunately, when you come to better managers and you come up, Premier League has not elite managers, but there's a whole bunch of managers that come up and you'll be coming up against a good level. I just sit there and told them all, I'm going to play exactly the same way. Okay, we'll adjust. We'll know what to do. Every team will do it. Gary O'Neill at Wolves was fighting relegation when they told the whole world how to play against Ange. Everyone's been using it since.
Yeah. But this is the thing, right? If Ange gets sacked tomorrow, and whilst I don't want him to get sacked, I can see it more likely scenario than not. I think I said this earlier in the show. I think if he loses against Liverpool, then that's when we once we're out of the Carabao Cup. If we lose against Liverpool, then that'll be him gone. I think at that point, I think it'll be too late. I don't see us hiring another manager before the end of the season. I don't think we get anybody in.
I agree with you. The reason why I agree with you is I personally think they've gone out and tried to find another manager, and everyone's told them fuck off. Basically, I ain't coming to Spurs because the way and everyone will hate me for saying this, but the way they treated Conte and Mourinho, no matter how much half of this fan base didn't want them, other managers are watching us. They're seeing what's going on, and they're also seeing what's going on with Ange right now with the whole backing. And they're going to be like, do you know what? I'm only going to go Spurs for a payday. So I've heard Allegri's been linked, right? And he's going to be looking at going, you know what? I'll get sacked after 18 months. I'll get a payday. That is how managers are going to see us now. No one is going to look at us as a project because they fully well know that after 18 months, it's going to go pear-shaped. The only person right now that could probably come in and save us, right? But I don't think, it depends on what relationship they've left it in. Pochettino. If he was willing to come and save us for 6 months against this, he would change it. Because you just look at what he did for the last 6 months at Chelsea. 2 games he lost. 2. And Maresca came in and picked up a team that was, we'll be honest, if they've lost 2 games since January, you're kind of going, come on, he's picked up a good team there. That's why when they played over this Christmas period recently, why Maresca's suffered, because he hasn't had to play 2 different teams in a week because Thursday's been too easy for them. He hasn't been in that same situation. And Leicester fans will sit there and go, Maresca, when he got to this point with them, even when they were coming up, the results started to foul. So it's the same thing. For me, what I would say is there are other managers, it doesn't matter who it is, who could get us out of this situation. It doesn't have to be a good manager. I just think personally right now, it just needs to be a coach. Someone who's going to coach these players and put them in. Because our midfield is non-existent. And I think that's very key to why we're conceding and giving up so many chances. Basuma, unfortunately, is not good enough to play that position that you're asking him. Archie Gray, okay, look, bless him. He played there today and just got exposed. This is Everton, who haven't scored for a month. And we've conceded 3, right? And then you've also got to look at Bentancur, can't stay fit at all. And unfortunately, that's your problem. And it's not like he's getting the injuries that Ange brings along with him. He's just, for me, Bentancur's just been very unlucky at Tottenham Hotspur with one injury after another. And if they don't look at this situation, we're just going to keep conceding and conceding and conceding. But it's down to people's preferences. I personally think that Ange at the moment is not. If we were 10th, I would not be thinking this. I'd be like backing him like you lot are. But I'm not. I can't see it. 15th.
I get it. Yeah. Quickly, go round to Wes and Dave before we move on to Hoffenheim on Thursday. Wes, quick one. If Ange was to be? What would you rather have? What would you rather have? Ange till the end of the season to see out the position that we're in, or be stuck with the alternative, which more than likely would be somebody like Ryan Mason?
Wow. Look, I want Ange to do well. I genuinely do, but I can't. I just can't for the life of me see it happening because, as I mentioned earlier, Levy's going to get twitchy, and he's gonna pull that trigger. I think soon. But knowing our luck, instead of being effectively proactive and doing it now and trying to get somebody in, and then you have your recruitment meeting, and it's like, right, players, get them in. Who do we need? I mean, obviously we know our recruitment is lacking big time at the moment. But I think the club have to make a call at some point, and it has to be fairly quick. So the next one that comes in can try and get some players in to try and aid the cause. My preference would be if we could somehow get out of this, and I'd love it to be with Ange, but like I say, I can't see it. I think it's a case of when he goes and not if he goes, unfortunately. But
So
I mean,
Marlon.
Yeah, which one?
What do I want? I want us to, obviously I want Spurs to do well, 100%, and I want Ange to succeed, but I can't see it. So unfortunately, I think we're going to get left with a caretaker. Likelihood is Mason, but it will probably be, too little, too late, like it was the last time he ended up taking us after we sacked Conte and then Stellini.
See, I kind of think that if we lose to Hoffenheim in a week, he's gone. I think he's at that point now. I think
Hoffenheim haven't lost, I don't think, since November 23rd. Everyone.
Yeah, I think a bad result against Hoffenheim, a bad result against Leicester, he's gone, in my opinion. But it would be Daniel Levy-esque to hold on until we get spanked by Liverpool in the League Cup.
Yeah, and then we're being punished.
What, Spurs fans?
And the reason why I asked that question is because
I've done a lot of bad stuff, but I don't know.
Because of the whole Jose Mourinho situation, he's looking at it as, if I sack him now and we go out in that semi-final, everyone's going to blame me and go, you shouldn't have sacked Ange before a semi-final.
Yeah, but
then he shouldn't have sacked Jose before a bloody cup final.
Yeah, but this is what I'm saying. This is what I'm saying. Do you think he's going, if I do it, everyone's going to be going, I don't want to win it.
I think the situations are different. I think he sacked Jose for money to try and save some money, and it backfired on him massively. But I personally think that he will wait too long. I agree with Wes. I think that he should be on the chopping block now, because based on our league form, based on the fact that we are 15th, based on the fact we've lost 6 and 8 and lost 12 games this season, conceded 16 goals or something like that in the last 4 games or something stupid. His head should be on that block right now. I don't want it to be either, because I think there's a bigger problems than Ange at Tottenham. But
of course, yeah.
Any manager in any country with performances like this would be, on the block of being sacked. But I think he will hold on for a little bit longer. I think he'll probably see out the next week. I think a bad result against Hoffenheim, he's gone. But yeah, it's the sort of thing where I can see it both ways. I don't want Mason to the end of the season, but I can't watch us anymore this season. Like, it's pain. I sat there today and my kids watching us. She's like, you like these? Yeah, why? Because my daughter's 7. It's like, I don't know. I just do, So it's hard. I don't want to watch anymore, but what's Ryan Mason going to bring to the table? Nothing. We see that.
Yeah.
But the thing is, what's any other manager, like, personnel-wise? But personnel-wise,
to be honest, do you know what I would be doing if I was Daniel Levy? Mauricio Pochettino is in charge of the Canadian national team, or someone like that. US national team. They ain't got nothing planned for a couple of months. Poch, can you see us out to the end of the season, please?
That's what I do. That's the way I'd be going.
But the thing is, and if I know, Marlon, you mentioned earlier about Levy listening to the fans. If he'd have listened to the fans, Levy would have swallowed his pride and bought Poch back in 18 months ago, because we were crying out for him to come, and because he understood.
That was more down to Donna Cullen, because her and Poch fell out. She didn't want him back.
Right. Just quickly then, guys. One word, or I suppose it's 2-word answers from everybody, and no more words than that. Are you Ange in or are you Ange out? Wes?
I'm Ange in. I'm Ange in.
Need to know. Marlon.
I went at the weekend.
Okay.
Wednesday.
I've got splinters.
No.
Right now, based on how we're playing, I'm more Ange out than I am Ange in.
But cuts me deep. I'm probably like you, Ed. I'm still Anjin for the time being. Do you know what? And I will say this one thing before we move on to Hoffenheim. If we can beat Liverpool, right? And I know it's a big if, right? But if we can beat Liverpool, I'd back Ange over any manager in a cup final. If you see how many cups he's won over his time, any cup finals he's won, I'd back him in a cup final.
But the thing is, Luke, you say that the almost one of the games specialists in one-off games, Daniel Levy had him and fucked him off the week of a cup final. Like, if you want to go into any game, any one-off game, especially against Pep, and you want to win that game out of your pick of managers in the world, you are picking Jose Mourinho. Like 100%.
Yeah.
You are picking Mourinho.
Yeah, but Daniel Levy's a Tottenham fan, remember? He wants us to win. Oh, hang on a minute.
This is what gets me.
The only out armour is Daniel Levy out and Enoch out. Daniel Levy needs to.
Yeah, but look, we all fully well know that nothing at this club's going to change until Daniel and them lot on the board have gone. But at this present moment, the only thing that we can have a say on is always going to be the manager. And unfortunately, Ange is performing probably the worst now under any manager under the Enoch ownership. And
he's worse than Christian Gross. He's got a worse record than Christian Gross.
Yeah, and even then, and look, I remember the 90s, so this is just bringing back memories. And I was a kid then, and I'm just like, nah, this can't happen. This is not the Spurs that we moved into the stadium and signed up for, unfortunately. And that's
I'd rather not built a stadium and carried on as we were.
Yeah. Let's talk about Hoffenheim. We do have to talk about that on Thursday night. Hoffenheim have not won a game in the league since November the 23rd. They're currently 15th in the Bundesliga, 17 points. They also have a terrible run in the Europa League as well. All signs kind of point towards Spurs win, but obviously life doesn't work that way. Wes, what do you expect, on Thursday night? We don't have a huge amount of players we can rotate. Do you see much of the same again? Do you think Andrew will just resort back to his original formation, or do you think he'll stick with the three at the back?
Who have we got? Because he can't play Spence, he can't play Reguilon, so that's two defenders light already, considering we haven't got any anyway.
Like Archie Gray will go left back, or would you put Ben Davies left back, Archie Gray centre back?
You'd probably say you'd have to go Archie Gray more or less at left back and Davis and Dragusin at centre back with Power at right back. But yeah, I'm not holding out much hope given Hoffenheim's record. We know what's going to happen. Dr. Tottenham is going to turn up on Thursday, and he's probably going to turn up again on Sunday next week. It kind of everything just sort of stinks of a 2-3-0 win for Hoffenheim, really, given their run and what we're like. So yeah, I don't think Ange's got much that he can tinker with, so he's got to go with pretty much whoever's available. And it feels like there's 11 available.
Is Leicester a home game?
Yeah.
I'm dying to see that atmosphere.
It's going to be toxic.
And he's got to play with Austin in goal, I take it, because I don't know if Forster's back.
I don't know if he can register Kinski.
No, he can't. He can't until
the knockouts.
Yeah. So goalkeeper-wise, we're stuck too if Forster's not back, because Austin's going to have to play. I know he looked good against Newcastle, but you're going with a dodgy back four, and a guy into Germany, and it's just going to be like, here we go. But
yeah, it's just a case of who's available.
In the Europa League, they've got 1 win, 3 draws and 2 losses, goal difference of -3. They currently sit 26th in the Europa League table. Dave, you got anything positive to say about Hoffenheim on Thursday night?
Dr. Tottenham will see you now.
That's negative.
I have no positivity left in my body. We are 15th in the league. We're about 5 points off relegation. I have watched... Like I said, I've grown up a Tottenham fan in a household of Chelsea and Arsenal fans. You can imagine how my upbringing has been, and you can imagine how my adult life has been. My greatest moment was winning the League Cup against Chelsea. That was the only time of celebration I ever had. Invincibles, Chelsea winning the Champions League, Chelsea winning
twice.
not winning at Stamford Bridge for years and years and years, losing at Arsenal constantly, Sol Campbell going to Arsenal. You can imagine what my life's been like. So any positivity that I may have against Hoffenheim is gone. I was positive at the start of the season because I really backed Ange, but right now, yeah, I can't see it happening, mate. To be honest, it stinks of a 1-0 defeat.
Yeah, do you know what? I'm going to bring some positivity on everyone because why not? I got all my frustration out an hour or so ago. So now I'm
Lucky
in a
you.
good mood. Yeah. Look, the good positive to look at this is Richarlison is back and he scored today.
Just
So,
really quickly, Luke, please pull up Callum's comment. No Spence and no Reggie on either. Who are we going to play?
I know, yeah. I know. Positives are Richarlison's back. So, I would definitely expect to see him obviously starting through the middle. Mikey Moore, he looked good when he came on. His assist for Richarlison was quality. So again, he'll get some game time, I would assume. Obviously, Lucas Bergwall's been playing well. So, the defensive issues are still there, though, aren't they? As I said, it's looking like it's probably going to be.
But that's not really been the main concern. If we realistically break it down in the last few weeks, it's not really been our back four that's been the major issue. It's been going forward. Our front line has been shocking, and it's been Son, Solanke, Johnson, Kulusevski, all of them. You think of that first half today. What did any of them do? The only thing I'll say with you about Mikey Moore, and I know it's a positive, it's good that he's back. However, he has been out for months, and he's 17. We've got to be careful and manage his minutes. And if you look at the 2 games he has started, the last 2, which was Tamworth and Palace, he wasn't very good starting. Second half he came on, he was a bit better, but against Crystal Palace he was non-existent. And again, so I'm looking with Mikey Moore. Yeah, it's a great thing that he's back, and he was great today when he came on. But I think we've got to manage his minutes, unfortunately, because if we stick him in now, he's just going to be a sinking ship.
Who else do we play? We haven't got Timo Werner. We don't have Brennan Johnson. We don't have Dominic
To be fair, having Timo Werner is like playing with 10 men anyway, so it makes no difference if you play or not.
Yeah. It's going to be.
But it sums us up at the moment where we're asking a 17-year-old kid to come off the bench and get us out of jail.
Yeah.
And we're supposedly this with one of the elite clubs, not only in England but across Europe, and we're asking a 17-year-old to come off the bench and save us. Come on, sort it out.
Right, okay. Let's get some score predictions for Hoffenheim, just for a bit of fun. Won't affect our score prediction table, but let's get some score predictions out for that. Dave,
1-0 Hoffenheim.
1-0 Hoffenheim. Is that what you're going for?
Yep.
Marlon, what are you going to go for?
When I give the scoreline, you have to put me against Callum. I'm going to take his scoreline. He's in the chat. I'm taking it. I'm going for a 1-0.
1-0. Right. Wes, what are you going for?
3-1 Hoffenheim.
Oh my God. I'm going for 2-1 Spurs. So have that.
What's going on with we do score predictions for Leicester as well?
Yeah, we'll do that.
You got to get the wheel out as well. You got to get the wheel.
Yeah, I was just trying to find it again.
He's living off the wheel at the moment, isn't he? He got a point today.
Yeah, well, we'll talk. Let's talk about that in a second. Actually, do you know what? Let's go on to it now. Obviously, there were 2 games this week for Spurs, and we got our score predictions in for both of those games. Dave and Winnie missed both of the scores, so they got their score predictions from the spinning wheel. So these were the Arsenal scores. I went 2-1 Spurs. Winnie had the wheel. He went 5-0 Spurs. Dave got a 0-0 draw. Callum went 3-2 Spurs win, and Wes went for a 2-2 draw. So no one got any points in that. For Everton's game, I went for 3-0 Spurs. Winnie got 5-2 Everton. Dave got 3-0 Everton, both getting 1 point thanks to the mystery wheel. Callum and Wes both went for Spurs wins 2-1 and 3-1 respectively. So actually the only people that got any points are the league leaders, which is Winnie, who's moved up to 13, and Dave, who's moved up to 11. I still sit on 4 points with Callum, and Wes is slowly sinking like Spurs in the Premier League on 7 points. So all to play for, not. When it comes to the Leicester game on Sunday next week, 2:00. Dave, you've got an advantage here, or could be a disadvantage in the fact that you are on the show and Winnie is not given his score, so he will get the wheel again, but you won't because you have to do your score. So actually, it could be a
I
negative.
don't really have an advantage though because I'm feeling so negative at the moment. So, but Leicester are horrid. You know, they're worse than Everton in some respects. You know, Everton had a new manager bounce under Van Nistelrooy. Leicester are hopeless. So I am backing Spurs against Leicester. I do think we'll concede, but I think we'll win 2-1.
2-1 Spurs.
Yes.
Okay, 2 secs. I wasn't prepared, so bear with me 1 second.
Win.
Yeah. Wes, what are you going for?
Can I go via the wheel this week?
No.
You're here, mate.
No, I was going to do that, and you said you're not allowed. You've got to predict them because the wheel does bits. So
shit. Right. Okay. I'm going to go for a 2-1 Spurs win.
2-1 Spurs. Dave, what did you go for? 2-1.
2-1 Spurs. Wes is copying these table toppers.
The thing is, not going to help you climb the table, is it? Just picking the same score. 2-1 Spurs. Marlon, what are you going to go for the Leicester game?
2-2.
2-2.
Sorry, Luke, I forgot you were bottom of the predictions league, mate.
Still got the crown next to my name, though, for a few more weeks. Callum has said he's gone 3-1 Spurs, but unfortunately, he did not get his prediction in before the show, so he will also get the wheel, who will predict his score. Jay has gone 3-1 Spurs, whereas your dad has also gone 3-1 Spurs. Genius, I'm not sure what scores you're predicting, because they said 2-2, second leg of the cup. So I'm not sure. You're like months ahead in the future with your predictions. But bear with me 1 second. Let's get the wheel up, and we will do the other lads' predictions.
The wheel does bits, by the way, as well.
This is what I mean.
I'll go for mine. I'm going for a clean sheet, 2-0 Spurs against Leicester.
Bloody hell, Luke, you're brave.
I know, yeah. Well, I was going to go 2-1, but you both predicted that, and I need some points. So, right, we'll go for Winnie first. On the wheel spinning. So, Winnie has got a 1-0 Spurs win.
He got lucky there.
Was seconds away.
Did he really get lucky?
Seconds away from a 5-1 Leicester. But he's got 1-0 Spurs. And then we'll do Callum next.
He'll get 5-1 Leicester now.
Yeah. Callum's buzzing that he's got the wheel as well, by the way.
I should have logged off 10 minutes before the end. Oh.
Ooh, he's got 4-1 Spurs. Nearly got 5-3 Leicester, which probably is going to be closer to the exact score, isn't it, really? But, right, 4-1 Spurs for Callum. Perfect. So that kind of wraps up all of our score predictions. Nobody has got Leicester to beat us, so it shows the faith from the panel and the wheel, in fact. So maybe that's a good omen that the wheel also thinks that Spurs are going to win. Who knows? Right. That kind of wraps us up, really. There's a lot we could talk about. We could probably talk for the next 2 hours about how Spurs move forward. Hopefully we can see something happen, and hopefully in the next week we see some action from the board in terms of transfers, in terms of spending money in players that we require. Do we hold much hope for it? Everybody shakes their head in unison. Probably not. That kind of wraps us up. So Marlon, I'll start with you. Thank you very, very much for jumping on tonight. It's been an pleasure. You're welcome anytime. How can everyone find you and Spurs Kings TV?
Yeah, no, we're at Spurs Kings TV on X, on YouTube. We're just doing our thing. We have 2 Premier League shows where at the moment we're kind of in the mud as Spurs fans, so we just kind of sit back and let everyone else argue it out. Us and Man United fans are not doing great at the moment. But our Tuesday show is the one that everyone loves to watch. That's the one where we break down the tactics. This week we have 3 guys that love their tactics. So Ash is going to take them through that. It's going to be quite an interesting show, especially with today and obviously the Arsenal game. So yeah, make sure you tune in for that. But yeah, thanks for having me, guys.
Thanks, mate. Anytime. Wes, how can everyone find you?
Yeah, so people can find me on Twitter at Wezo10, unofficial Moussa Dembele fan account. It was the anniversary of the best Belgian ever gracing Premier League shores leaving our football club the other day. So
Brilliant.
that was a very sad moment in my life that happened. Instagram's at Wezo32, usually at a Spurs home game. I'll be there on Sunday against Leicester. So I would say I'm looking forward to it, but the state we're in, I'm a bit like, it's a bit of a chore at the minute, but do what you do for your football club, didn't you? And yeah, people, I run my own football coaching business in Milton Keynes, Dele Alli, Leah Williamson Country. So it's Co for MK or Kickoff Football Academy across your socials for all that good stuff over there.
Amazing. And Dave, how can everyone
You can
find
actually find me, big news, tomorrow, 8 o'clock, live. FPL Lads, Fat Pod Lads is back tomorrow night at 8 p.m. So make sure you tune in for that. Some interested movers and shakers in the leagues. And we have a new league leader this week, which is very surprising amongst our hosts. So you'll see, you might learn more next week. But you can find me, obviously, on this channel nearly every Sunday, at Park Lane Pod Dave on Twitter, at Park Lane Pod on Twitter, at Park Lane Pod across the socials, Facebook, TikTok, whatever. We're not banned on TikTok, are we?
Well, yeah.
And all those places. But like I said, I answer any questions. I'm active on all the socials. So Marlon, get me on your show soon as well, mate.
Oh yeah. Anytime, whenever you're free on the Tuesday. Look, we do go late on Tuesday.
I remember doing a show with yours before, my first ever one, and 3 hours later, my wife's like, "Why are you still doing that?"
Yeah, anytime you're not free on the Tuesday, just message me. Come on, we don't care what week it is. We take everyone 1 week. Come on, anytime, anyone's free.
Yeah, where's the be the man for your tactics, mate?
Yeah, I definitely. Yeah, you and Ash mate can go through it. I just sit there sleeping.
Perfect. If you want to check out anything that I do, you can go on the Luke_Park Lane. I will still be Angin, so don't you worry about that. Let's see what happens over the next week. Who knows? A miracle could happen and I might change my mind. Or a miracle could happen. We might sign some players. But until then, we'll catch you next Sunday, 7 p.m. And if you want to check out the FPL show, you can check that out tomorrow, 8 p.m. For the Fat Pod Lads. But until next time, a massive come on, you Spurs.
Come on, you Spurs.